Let me try this all again. Shabbat Shalom. I'm glad I didn't get too far before they figured out that my microphone wasn't on. I apologize. At any rate, whether you're here in the sanctuary with us or you're at home joining us, thank you. We greatly appreciate that. And we hope you will get something out of this evening's service. Before we go any further, let me make some very quick introductions. My name is Barry Nicholsberg. I'm the cantorial soloist here. Back at the streaming board, we have Denise Whitlock, thank you. We have Judy Kern, our board president, and my wife, Jeannie Nicholsberg. And I just saw Sophia come into the room. This is a great day. Hi, Sophia. Shabbat Shalom. This is Bobby Horowitz, our lead guitarist, Jim and Heather Murray. I don't know why I said that, but we generally take bets on how long it will take me to mess up. This one was easy. So, with that, I would like to read a poem to you this evening, written by one of our members. Now, where the devil did I put that poem? It was here when I was thinking about it earlier, but I can't find it, so we're not going there. So I will ask you a question that I've asked week after week. Where were you last Shabbat? Where were you physically and where were you spiritually? Did you laugh? Did you cry? Did you tell anyone how much you love him or her? What lessons will you take into the future that you learned this week moving forward? Think about this. I will use the first person, but I'd like you to think about it as yourself. As I enter Shabbat, I release the past week, its joys and its sorrows. I free myself from any misgivings or guilt. I am ready to look for new happiness and bring the best of me to new experiences during the week to come. With that, I would ask you to turn to page 121. I will ask Judy Kern if she would please come up and light the Shabbat candles. Again, page 121.
Please join me at the top of page 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Well, it's time for us to greet the Sabbath bride. We do that with a song called Chadodi. We sing the first, the fifth, and the 9th verses. On the 9th verse, I will ask you to stand up, face the door you came into the room, wherever you may be, and we will greet the Sabbath bride. La 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 Chadodi, la 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 bruchim, la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat Shamor v'zachor v'divrcha Hizmiyanu el hamilcha Adonai echad u'shemo echad Shemo tiferet ve'letzilah la 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 Chadodi, la 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 bruchim, la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Va'olech Uri Shadaveri Himor Adonai Alayich Dila la 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 Chadodi, la 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 bruchim, la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Kabbalat. Please rise and face the door you came in. Boi Shalom. Ateret balav, gam besimcha, u'torla, v'toch emunei, amesigula. Let's bow. Boi chala. Boi chala, la 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 Chadodi, la 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 bruchim, la 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 Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat nikam, Pnei Shabbat nikam, Pnei Shabbat nikam. Please be seated. I would invite you to turn to page 144, and I will ask Bobby to lead us in the readers, also known as the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadav, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'almadi v'rach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael Bagala, Bagala u'vizman kariv v'imiru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Me'alam Ulal Me'al Maya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yit par, v'yit ramam, v'yit naseh, v'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit alal, shemei d'kudashah b'richu, le'elah min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, v'imiru, amen.
Would you please turn to page 146 in the Mishkan Tefillah and rise for the call to worship, the Baruch. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch et Adonai. Hamivorach, Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach, Hamivorach, Leolam Vahed, Hamivorach, Hamivorach, Leolam Vahed. Please be seated. And if you would, turn to page 150. Starting in the middle of the page with Everlasting Love, I will ask Jim to lead us.
Everlasting love you offer your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and on your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Amen. Would you please turn to page 151? I will ask Jim to lead us, starting with Wisdom and Wonder.
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Please turn to page 152 and rise for the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. O Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. Please be seated. If you will please turn to page 154 for the V'ahavta. I will be chanting it in the original Aramaic, sentence by sentence, and Jim will be telling you what I just said in English. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might.
V'hayo hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha.
Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children.
V'shinatam levanecha v'dibatar bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'leftecha havaderech u'b'shovtecha u'v'kumecha.
Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up.
Ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayulototafot ben einecha.
Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead.
Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha.
Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
Leman tiskaru ve'asitem et kel mitzvotai v'yetem keroshim leloechem.
Thus shall you remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God.
Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeichem mieretz Mitzrayim liot lachem leElohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God.
I would like you please to turn to page 157. And Jim, if you would, please lead us in the paragraph starting with, in a world.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Yalla la la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la, yalla la la la. Mi kamocha va'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef emet, Nora tehilot osef emet. Malachutecha parahanu vanecha, bukei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu v'yaru, Ze'elianu v'yaru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef emet, Nora tehilot osef emet. Before we sing Hashkivenu, I have a couple things I would like to say. For those of you who were with us from the start of this evening's service, we opened with Ana El Na, not a song we would normally open with. It is Moses praying to God that he heal Miriam, who was stricken with what, at least on the physical person, might have looked like leprosy, but it affected the house, the walls, the clothes. Why did we do that? Because countries are generally referred to in the feminine. We were singing for God to find a way to heal Ukraine. It It's gone. It's ridiculous. What's happening there is absolutely insane. None of us can seem to understand it. We will talk a little bit more about that poor country in a few minutes. But as people in Ukraine decide to go to sleep tonight, may they sleep well and be comforted under God's wing. Page 160, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, ve'hamidenu malakenu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Thank you for being with us for this. For those of you who may be tuning in, or being here for the first time, or at least for the first time in a long time, we have added something to the tefillah. Back in 1976, a female rabbi, which was hardly ever heard of, a female rabbi in Los Angeles had the unmitigated gall to add the matriarchs to the patriarchs in the tefillah. History shows that lots of people at that synagogue got up and left. That was not a good thing for her to do. Well, we've taken it one step further, because the way one honors people is by remembering their names. And the way you forget people is by forgetting their names. And there are 3 women who are mentioned only slightly: Zilpah, Bilhah, and Tamar. We have added those names to the tefillah, and I would ask you please to join us. Those 3 women birthed 5 of the 12 tribes, the leaders of 5 of the 12 tribes of Israel. They certainly deserve to be remembered. And so with that, I would ask you turn to page 164 and rise for the tefillah.
Hanananananana Adonai, Hanananananana Savtai Tiftach, Hananananana Ufi Tahilatecha, Hananananana Adonai, Hananananana Savtai Tiftach, Hananananana Ufi Tahilatecha, Hananananana Adonai, Hananananana Savtai Tiftach, Hananananana Ufi Tahilatecha.
Page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Elohei Zilpah, Elohei Bilhah, ve'Elohei Tamar. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, umegula livnei bneihem, l'ma'an shemo b'yahava, melech ozer u'mashiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Abraham, v'yetzrat Sarah. Page 168. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Michael akal atarav le'oshia, morin hatal, Michael chayim bechesed, Michael hakol berachamim rabim, somek noflim berofei cholim, umatir asorim, umkayem emunato, lishenei afar, Mikamocha bal givorot, umidom elach, melech memit umchayeh, umatzmiya mitshua, v'ne'eman alecha yod ha'akol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh ha'akol. Page 170. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Our worlds are busy and noisy. Traffic jams, horns blaring, cell phones ringing, text messages buzzing. Too often we hear without listening. Let's take a moment to embrace the gift that only the quiet in this sanctuary and in our own minds can deliver. I invite you to join me in praying silently.
It's Chaim Him, L'machazikim Bach, V'tomecheha, Me'ushar, Deracheha, Darkei Noam, V'chol netivoteha, Shalom. Ashivenu Adonai, v'nashuva, Chodesh Yameinu b'kedeh. It's Chaim Him, L'machazikim Bach, V'tomecheha, Me'ushar,
turn to page 371 in Mishkan Tefillah. I will be reading from the middle of the page, May the 1. I have added Zilpah, Bilhah, and Tamar to this prayer as well. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, Leah, Zilpah, Bilhah, and Tamar, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and for their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen. If we'll do the folks online first through the webcast. If you have names you would like to add to this evening's Mishaberach list, if you'll put them in the chat room, Jeannie is ready to say them aloud for you.
Linda and Stephen Ely, Susan and Larry Aft, Emily Holler, Linda Ehrenstaff, Marcy Schulman, Nina Schulman, Joe Wagner, Sherry Silver, Barbara Frank, Lois and Alan Sorkin, Jack Frank, Don Copsey, Frank Baugh,
Denise?
Harry Rozier,
Thank you. Jeannie, do you have any names? Okay. Judy?
the 250,000 children who have lost either one or both parents to COVID, and I want to add Officer Furkawan for her safety whenever she puts on her uniform.
Okay, thank you.
Sheila Lawrence.
Jackie?
Linda Ely, Susan Eilers, Ronnie Eggers, Susie Horowitz, Victoria Meyer, Ann Olin, and Barb Yarber.
Barbara?
Shannon Pointer, Ellie Freed, Steve Miller, Rabbi Ron Blooming, Jimmy and Emily Beaver.
Thank you. Sophia, do you have anyone you'd like to add? Okay.
Okay, well, I've got to find it. I've got to get it. Wait a minute.
Christina Haywood and Glenn Chern.
Okay, Penny and Marty Gross, Sarah Gambrell, Peter Yarrow, Sandy Steinberger, Morris and Felice Friedman, Katie Adler, all those still with long haul COVID-19, Linda and Steve Ely, Andrew Fine, the people in the country of Ukraine, and that's about it.
Sophia?
And Jade Ricks, my friends.
Larissa Gavriluk, Tatiana Skachkova, Victoria Saulit, Sasha and Nina Bagdasarova, and all the people of
Jeannie?
Ukraine.
Arlene Conley, Tanya Hurst, Eddie Young, Lisa Miller, Sandy Tijan, Roxana Gomez, Mike Roth, Dennis Sadler, Lisa Ann Gaston.
Thank you. Bobby?
Susie Horowitz, Keith Hood, Andrew Wheeler, Edwin Speck.
Jim?
Meredith Murray.
Alexis Sklar.
Thank you. I would like to add Hannah Litzo, Alexis Scalar, Margaret Pennington, Peter Mazza, Linda Ely, Maria Zolar, Shelley Perkel, Teresa Martin, Andrew St. Clair, Robin Van Loo, Joanne Stein, Kevin Middleton, Brenda Gibson, Peter Yarrow, Anya Polara, Ben DeSalvo, Celeste Dybeck, Alden Mahler Levine, Scott Levine, the countless tens of millions, hundreds of millions around the globe who have been infected and affected by COVID-19, and all the citizens of Ukraine and their loved ones. Would you please join us in singing? Whoop, there's another one. Sorry, thank you.
Carrie Rozier, Jackie Freeman, Don Freeman, Robert Whitlock, Barbara Whitlock, Terry Hurst.
I will add one more, the family of John McPeak.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Ishebera imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
If you asked me what part of Shabbat service I like best, it would be impossible to say, but certainly listening to Jim and Heather for the Misha Berach is overwhelmingly beautiful. So, as you know, I am not one who believes in coincidence. Never have. Everything happens, I figured it was supposed to happen. That's how we meet people. It's not a coincidence. That's how we show up where we show up and when. So there's no coincidence about this week's Parsha, that part of the Torah we're reading this week. And for what's going on, mostly in Ukraine, but not completely. This week's Parsha is called Emor. And it talks about sacrifices and details concerning major holidays. But then it gets to this, and this is quote from the Torah. I'm not making this up. If anyone maims another person, what was done shall be done in return. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Injury that was inflicted on another shall be inflicted on that person in return. If you'd like to look it up, it's Leviticus 24:19 through 20. How could that be? That's in the Torah. We're supposed to follow this? Really? Is that what it means? Eye for an eye? That leaves everybody blind. And people have struggled with this for thousands of years, trying to figure out what God really meant. He could not have meant, somehow I had an accident, my hand got cut off, and you were responsible, I'm supposed to cut off your hand? Don't be ridiculous. See, we are allowed to argue with God. We even argue about what's in the Torah. What does it really mean? Those are the words. But what's the meaning behind the words? It cannot possibly mean actually an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So in about the year 600, if I recall correctly,
a philosopher named Rashi, decided that what this really means has nothing to do with an actual infliction, but a means of monetary compensation. That's quite a spin on those words, but let's go with it for now. The reciprocity is more restitution. Doing the same harm to another doesn't solve anything. We should seek to restore, compensate, or replace what was damaged to the best of our ability. I'm speaking completely about Ukraine right now. Listen to the words again. Think Ukraine. Instead of reciprocity, it is more about restitution. Instead of harming another, we should seek to restore, compensate, or replace what was damaged to the best of our ability. But how do we determine what the appropriate restitution is? That's a tough one. So the rabbis had it all figured out in the Talmud. They came up with it. Smart folks. They said, well, if it's a hand for a hand, let's just go pick a person. Jim, you look like a person. If your hand had been cut off, how much do you think that would be worth? And he would tell me, and then that would be the fine for the perpetrator. But if I asked Heather, she would have had a different number. How do we know that's... Besides, we're talking about money, when what we really need to talk about is how justice prevails. This example of a hand being monetized it seems ridiculous. But it helps us illustrate how difficult it is to determine exactly what justice means. And what exactly is just restitution for harm? Is it just that someone who kills is killed? Someone who maims is maimed? What does it teach society? How are we as a society, how are we as Jews better off because someone else was harmed? For those of you who are Jewish and those of you who are not, I am here to tell you that getting a unanimous opinion of 3 Jews, let alone 300 or 3,000 or 300,000, is all but impossible. How do I know? Because I myself am living proof that I can have more than one idea at the same time. There is no simple solution. Not here, not in Ukraine. The idea should be not to punish the perpetrator, but to try to restore the balance by giving restitution to the victim. That's the heart of this concept. Not to punish, but to restore. To take care of the one who lost something or experienced harm. I don't know if you noticed today, but there was a trial started in Kyiv of a 21-year-old Russian soldier who was accused of murdering, I will use another word, slaughtering civilians. And what was his defense? Oh, right. I was just following orders. Seems I've heard that before. At what point do we hear an order and say no? No, I'm not following that order. That order is insane. It isn't simple. And it's not very satisfying. We must strive to make amends. That's the restitution. May we have the strength to care for all who have been wronged. And may we work together to restore what has been lost. Amen. Would you please turn to page 586 and rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gedola leotzer reshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, v'lo samanu kemishpachot hadama, shelo sam chelekenu kahem, Vigor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anochnu korim umishtachavim modim lifnei melech malchei hamelakim hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu Tashamayim v'yoseh haaretz, u'moshav yakarov b'shamayim ima'al, ushinatu zo b'gohei meromim, hu Eloheinu Eino, emet malkeinu efezulato, kakatu b'torato, yadata yom v'hashivota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim ima'al, v'ha'aretz mitachai. Page 588. For you spread out the heavens and establish the earth. Your majestic abode is in the heavens above, and your mighty presence is in the loftiest heights. You are our God, and there is none else. In truth, you are our sovereign without compare, as is written in your Torah. Know then this day and take it to heart, that Adonai is surely God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is none else. Page 591. V'nehar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'oretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai Shemo, O Shemo, O Shemo, Echad. Please be seated. I've been reciting this prayer for the Ukrainian people since this war started. The worst, if that's possible, the worst part of it, it makes no sense. People of Ukraine never harmed anybody in Russia. Our God and God of our ancestors, bless the Ukrainian people in this, their dire hour of need. Help people everywhere to understand the blessings of our lives and circumstances and be vigilant, compassionate, and brave. Strengthen us when we are afraid. Help motivate us to action. Help all of us to understand that our silence is complicity. Help us to taste the sweetness of liberty, to not take for granted the freedoms won in generations past, that we all may play a part to heal and nourish democracy. Source of all life, guide our world leaders with righteousness, strengthen their hearts and keep them from hardening, that they may use their influence to speak truth to power. May the people of every nation raise their voices in the name of justice, peace, and equity for all. May we be strong and have courage to be bold in our action and deep in our compassion, to discern when we must listen and when we must act, to uproot blind aggression, intolerance, and violence in all its forms. And finally, let us celebrate the many faces of God reflected in the wondrous diversity of humanity, to welcome the stranger and the immigrant. Let us say, Amen.
Amen.
I pause for a moment because this next piece is a chant. Temple Beth David lost a very good friend this week, John McPeak. John was a member of our High Holiday Choir. High Holiday Choir. He was a rock. He sat in that far corner over there and held the bass section. When I asked him if he would like to lead a song, he came right up and did so. He was fearless. He died without knowing it. Had an accident, was over in seconds. And I keep replaying that in my head. We read stories every day in the news. Oh, so-and-so was killed in a car wreck, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. This was John. And so this evening, while I certainly will chant El Malei Rachamim for the Ukrainian people and for those who have died from COVID and for those who have died for truly senseless reasons that none of us can understand. El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Baromim, Hamsei Menucha Nichona, Tacha Kanfei, HaShekhinah, Im Kedoshim Hatihorim Kizohar Harakia Masirim Lanishmot Yakireino. John McPeak. שהלכו לעולמם, בעל הרחמים, יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם. אדוני הוא נחלתם. ויענו בשלום המשכבם. ונאמר You might say, I don't remember John McPeak. You will in a moment. If you were here when we had the choir, I claimed to have the only High Holy Day choir with Santa Claus in it. When I was asking his son and daughter, as I was preparing the funeral, I asked them, what were his favorite things? Instantly, it was his grandchildren. Hands down, that was it. But then his daughter said something really strange to me. She said, Peter Yarrow. I said, really? Okay. I wrote it down. I got a hold of Peter. I said, I don't think you would remember necessarily, but it was in this synagogue. He's performed here twice for us. And he said, well, I'm sorry, Barry, I meet so many people. I said, yes, but he looks like Santa Claus. And he said, I know exactly who he is. He will be remembered. Certainly here and in the hearts and minds of people. His family, his friends. Page 599. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Of them all we say, Zichronam livracha. May their memories always, always be a blessing. If you are in the period of Shiva, the first 7 days since a loved one has passed, well, I have to add John McPeak to the top of that list. Shloshim, the first 30 days. We remember Stephen Blount, Norman Mineta, and Mickey D'Amato. Those who we remember were part of this synagogue or very close to members of this synagogue. Larry Kramer, David Yarborough, Sylvia Cart, Rossi Davis, Jack Smith, Laura Russignac Rosen, Louis Jutzi, Michael Bernard, Annette Carter, Edna Dockerman, Robert Diskin, Erwin Finkelman, Mickey Kroll, Daniel Roach, Nicholas Collins, Ed Gallup, Frank Perrone, Barbara Babbitt, Thomas Hawk, Evelyn Hawk, and Luke Hawk, Eugene Smuckler, and of course, John McPeak. We remember the following who died within this time period in years past. Samuel Levy, Malva Dobrikin, Andrew Levitt. I would ask you please to rise physically and or spiritually to join those who are remembering and are in mourning, as together we recite on page 598 the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach rutei v'amlilch malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv imru. Amen. Yehi shnei Rabbah mevorach li'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithada v'yithalev v'yithalal shmed kudsha b'richu le'elam im kol b'chata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'miran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shamayim v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimroma, uyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes harmony on high bring peace to us and all Israel, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated. We like to end on an up note. This kind of feels like Solomon's sad service, because it is. But we're going to sing Hamirah, and you can't be unhappy and sing Hamirah. It's not allowed. Please join us. The chorus is Hum Ha. If you can say that, you've got the entire chorus down. Please join us. Hum Ira.
Hum ha ha, ha ha, hum ha ha, hum ha ha, hum. Hum ha ha, ha hum ha ha, hum ha hum. Hum ha ha, hum ha hum. Hum ha hum ha hum. A merry run, a merry run, a merry run, Lawrence, the Lagarim Aleha Barachamim. A merry run, a merry run, a merry run, Lawrence, the Lagarim Aleha, the Lagarim Aleha, the Lagarim Aleha, the Lagarim Aleha, Barachamim, Utuva, Lechadeshe, Tamik, Utuva, Lechadeshe,
If it gets better than that, I don't know what it is. It's like four people with one mind. The timing is that and Etz Chaim He. I don't know what it is about those two pieces, other than the fact that it was Bobby Horowitz that arranged them. That I guess it has something to do with it, Bobby. Thank you. Incredibly moving. It's time for announcements. Jeannie, do you have any?
Yes. In keeping with current CDC guidelines, TBD has gone mask optional for those who are fully vaccinated. Masks are still required for anyone not fully vaccinated. Please consider joining us in the sanctuary to worship as a community. Please continue to read your TBD emails for announcements and event details. Mark your calendars for the annual congregation meeting on Sunday, the 22nd. This year's meeting will be multi-access. Plan to attend either in person or on Zoom. Please plan to join us either in person or online Friday, the 27th, and Saturday, the 28th, when a rabbinic candidate will be leading services. We want to thank Officer Ron for keeping us safe tonight and every time she puts on her uniform.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate 3 people here who are having birthdays within the next few days. J.J. Roth. J.J., congratulations. Jim Murray. Big double nickel, I'm not telling you how old he is. And Paul Gustad, who I haven't seen in way too far long. And then, just right after that, Annie Whitlock is leaving for Israel on a birthright mission. I've never known anyone to come back from that who wasn't supercharged. It's a tremendous program. It really is. And congratulations to her parents, Denise and Scott. It's a nice, very nice honor. I will say in 2 weeks from tonight, we do have a rabbinic candidate here. His name is Hillel Nori. And I'm on the search committee, and I will tell you it was
it was completely unanimous. I said before, you can't find people who will agree all the time. This one we all did. It was like the exception that proved the rule. Please, if you can be here, please be here. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors. Come and meet the man. He will be here Friday night to lead services. He will be back on Saturday morning to lead services. And we will have various foods available for onegs and lunches following those services. Please, do what you can to be here. I think you will be amazed. And if you can't physically be here, please tune in via webcast. With that, we'd like to wrap up with a priestly blessing, Yivarechecha. I would ask you please to rise physically and or spiritually.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May Adonai bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yisunnecha.
May Adonai's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May Adonai's face turn toward you and grant you peace.
V'yasem lecha shalom.
May you go from strength to strength. Shabbat Shalom.